Okay, during this lesson, we're going to talk about something called dimensional analysis. This is just a math skill that you probably already do in your head a lot of times, but we're just going to kind of go through and write out the steps because we will have to do it possibly in the future in this class. It's just another way to convert measurements. So just like in the metric SI unit lesson, you practiced using the ladder method where you move the decimal. This lesson is actually going to cover a different way to convert between units. So before we start, I just want you to take a look at number 1. And I want you to see if you can figure out what's going to go in this square here. So you're starting with an orange circle, and I want you to see what's going to be your final answer in this square. So hopefully what you noticed, or what you kind of were thinking about, is how if you have an orange square on the top here and you have an orange square on the bottom, those two things are going to cancel out because they're the same. The same thing's going to happen to my blue squares. They're going to cancel out. So I'm just going to be left with a yellow triangle. Okay. Now I'd like for you to look at number 2 and see if you can do the same thing. Try to figure out what you're going to be left with at the end of the problem. Okay, so if you notice, my red octagons are going to cancel. My green stars are going to cancel because I have the same thing on top and bottom. So that means I'm left with a purple heart on top of a lightning bolt. Okay, these two are left over. Let's look at number 4. Number 3 is similar to what we've been doing. So let's look at number 4. Okay, I want you to think about what's going to go in this box right here. All right, so hopefully you said a donut. Okay, because if I have a blue square and a blue square, those are going to cancel. I know I'm left with a smiley face, so that means I need to somehow cancel out this donut. And I can do that by drawing a donut down on the bottom. So essentially, this is dimensional analysis. It's taking something that you're given, and then you're multiplying it by different units or different conversion factors, and then you're coming up with some type of answer at the end. So let's look at an actual example. Okay, so I used to have, if you're in class, you'll see we're going to be using these cards, but if you're not in class, I still wanted you to be able to kind of see the cards because it might, just kind of make it a little bit easier to visualize what we're doing. So if I'm starting with 39.5 inches and I want to convert it into meters, because remember we've talked about how we use meters in science. So I want to convert this into meters. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find, notice I have this other card that has inches and centimeters, which centimeters is good because it's getting me one step closer to meters, right? We kind of talked about centimeters in the metric lesson. So if I line this card up where I have my inches on the top and inches on the bottom, okay, that means I can cross out my inches and I'm just left with centimeters. Okay, notice I'm not crossing out any numbers. I'm just kind of canceling out my units. This is just a way to change the units in my problem. So I've crossed out those units and I'm left with centimeters. So that's good. Centimeters is getting me closer to meters. So let's see what the next card says. So again, I've crossed out inches. And then notice now I have a card that's going to convert me into meters. So I have centimeters and meters. 100 centimeters is in 1 meter. So now I can cancel out my centimeters. Okay, and now I'm left with meters, which is what I'm looking for in the problem. Okay, all that these numbers are, like this 2.54 and 1, this is just saying that if I had 1 inch, it's equal to 2.54 centimeters. So they're the same thing, the same distance. Okay, same thing with my 100 and my 1 meter. 1 meter is the same thing as 100 centimeters. So in this calculation, anytime I have two things that are equal to each other, I can put them in what I call like a fraction, okay? And it means the same thing. There's 100 centimeters in 1 meter. I'm gonna scroll down to this example here, okay? Notice I have centimeters. I'm starting with centimeters and I'm trying to go to feet. So I'm basically going backwards. So I can still use this centimeters to inches card, but notice I've had to kind of flip-flop my numbers so that the centimeters is on the bottom because I want it to be able to cancel out. Okay, so just like we said earlier, we had 2.54 centimeters over 1 inch because they're the same thing. I can also have it written this way. So it doesn't matter if we're writing it on top or bottom. We're still saying that those two things are equal. The only reason I want to have my centimeters on the bottom here is so that I can cancel out. If I don't swap them, they're not going to be able to cancel out. Okay, and same thing with the next part. I know it's upside down, but you can see inches and inches are on top and bottom, so I can cancel those out, and I'm left with 1 foot. Okay. So let's look at some real practice problems. So I have some, just some units up here, and I suggest you write these down just on in your notebook. This is going to be page 3 in your notebook, and it's likely going to go through to page 4 because you'll have your activity, the next activity on Schoology, where you're going to do some practice on a website tutorial that kind of walks you through some problems. You're going to do that also with this. So will probably be about 2 pages on your notebook. Okay, so you're just going to kind of solve these problems with me. So the first thing we do, just like with our cards, we're always going to start with what we're given. So I'm going to write 2 feet here. Okay. And then now, okay, I'm looking for something that's going to get me 2 feet to inches. I know in your head you're saying it's 24. We know that. There's 12 inches and 2 feet. Okay, 24. But what I want you to see is how are we getting that mathematically? Okay, so if I know that there's for 1 foot there's 12 inches, how am I going to set that up in my problem? So since I have feet up here in the top, I want to put the foot down here in the bottom. Okay, so 1 foot. And then I'm just going to look, since that's equal to 12 inches, I'm going to write 12 inches on the top. Okay, so that means my foot has canceled, and I'm left with 2 times 12, which is 24. And then my units are in inches. Okay, let's look at the next one. How many milliliters are in 3 liters? So again, I'm always going to start with what I'm given. Okay, and now let's look and see if we can find a conversion unit with liters and milliliters. Here's one. Okay, so if I have liters on the top, I'm starting with liters. I know I want liters on the bottom. Okay, and I have 1 liter. So I'm going to write 1 liter, and that's equal to 1,000 milliliters. So that's what I'm going to write on the top, because remember, top and bottom have to be equal to each other. So now the liters are going to cancel, right? Because I have it on top and bottom, just like my stars canceled or my red octagons canceled at the beginning. Okay, and so now I'm left with just 3 times 1,000, which is 3,000. And there's a 1 on the bottom, so remember you can still divide it by 1 because we're going to just multiply everything on top, divide by what's underneath, but 3,000 divided by 1 is still 3,000. So my answer is just 3,000 milliliters. Notice I'm not crossing out the numbers, I'm just crossing out these units right here, okay? All right, let's look at a couple more. So one thing I want to show you is notice how I've been writing them like this, 3 times 100 over 1. After these two problems, we're going to do a simulation on the computer where it's going to kind of get you used to how you're setting up the problems. Okay, and I'll show it to you in just a minute. You'll see the problem set up like this, okay, with this interesting little kind of square grid. It's the same kind of setup. You're still going to multiply the numbers that are across and divide by the numbers on the bottom. It's almost like this line is just taking place of the x, the times table. Okay, so I'm going to show you. We're starting with 210 seconds. 210 seconds. I always write that down first. And then remember, I'm going from seconds to minutes. So here's my conversion factor. There's 60 seconds in a minute. Because I have seconds up here on the top, I want to put seconds down here on the bottom so I can cross them out. And there's a 60 in front, so I'm going to put 60. And then on the top, I'm going to put my 1 minute. Okay, so my seconds are going to cancel. So in my calculator, I'm going to type in 210 times 1. Okay, remember I said that line takes the place of the x for the times. And then underneath, it's just like dividing. Anytime you have something underneath the line, you're dividing. So I'm 210 times 1 divided by 60. And you get 3.5. Remember, my units that I have left are minutes. Okay, so I've just converted seconds to minutes. Okay, let's do one more. So again, I'm going to set it up like this. Okay, I'm going to start with what I'm given, 3 days. Okay, and I'm trying to go from days to seconds. So this is going to take, actually, let's change it. Instead of doing seconds, let's do hours. We'll make it a little bit simpler. Okay, so 3 days to hours. So let's see, here's my day in hours. Okay, so because I have day on top, I'm going to have day on the bottom, and it's just 1 day, and that's equal to 24 hours. 24 hours. So my day units are going to cancel, so I'm just left with 3 times 24 divided by 1. And so we're going to get, I'm just typing it into my calculator, 72 hours because I'm left with the hours units. Okay. So let me show you, next there's ignore this right here. There's a link on Schoology, a little website it's going to pull up, and you're just going to kind of work through some problems, write them down on your paper. Okay, so you're going to write them on your paper, and then you're going to take a picture. Okay, so take a picture, and you're going to submit that to Schoology. So let me show you the website. Okay, so when you click on the link, it's going to open up to this page right here. And it's called a Unit Conversions Tutorial. Okay, so let me show you what I'm going to write. So this is problem 1. So in your notebook, you'll write down number 1. And then you're going to write out exactly what's in this box right here. Okay, with the 1640 grams is given to you because that's what you're starting with. You're going to draw your lines. Okay, and then what you're going to do is once you get it set up, then you're going to write down the way that you set it up the correct way. Okay, and the website's going to tell you if you're doing it right or wrong. So let's look. So I have grams on top. So I want to find, where's my grams? Here's my grams. I'm going to move that to the bottom. Notice how it told me I was correct. Okay, so that's good. So what's equal to 1,000 grams? 1 kilogram. 1 kilogram. And then look, it solved my problem for me. So what you're going to do in your notebook, you're going to write down number 1, and then you're going to write out 1640 grams, okay, with my grid lines. I'm going to write the 1,000 grams on the bottom, the 1 kilogram on the top, and that's equal to 1.64 kilograms. So in our metric lesson we talked about how to do this with the ladder method or moving our decimal. This is just another way, okay? So once you have this written out, you'll go to the next problem and you'll do the same thing. Okay, let me show you if you move something wrong. So notice I have inches up here in the top. I should have inches down here in the bottom. If I try to move the centimeters to the bottom, notice it says incorrect. Okay, so like I said, if I try to move it and it's wrong, it won't let you do it. It'll tell you it's incorrect. Okay, so this should get you some good practice in putting your units where they should go. Remember, we're always wanting them to cross out. So whatever's on the top, I want to put down on the bottom. Okay, once you get to problem number 3, you're going to notice you have a box here where you're going to type in your answer and check your answer. Okay, so you're doing the same thing. You're going to work 1 through 10 and you're going to draw, write out your problem, not just the answer, but write out how you're setting it up. Okay, so let me walk you through this one. So it says 14 ounces is the same as how many pounds? So again, I want to always start with what I'm given. So I'm going to take this 14 ounces. Notice it still tells me when I'm doing it right. Since I have ounces on the top, it means I need ounces on the bottom. So I'm going to take the 16 ounce, put it on the bottom, and then the 1 pound is going to go on the top. Notice it says correct. Okay, so to find my answer, remember we're going to multiply everything on the top lines and divide by everything on the bottom lines. So 14 times 1 and then divided by 16, and you end up with 0.875. Okay, so I've typed in 0.875 and watch, I say check answer, and look, it tells me it's correct. Okay, so now in my notebook, I'm going to write down for number 3, 14 ounce in my grid lines with my 1 pound, 16 ounce, and then I'm going to write down my correct answer because I got it right. Okay, you're going to do the same thing for all 1 through 10. Okay, don't get scared when you get to number 4. Okay, all it's doing is just giving you some extra conversions. You're still going to do the same thing. So I'm still looking for my beginning. I'm always starting with what I'm giving. So 16,822 milligrams to grams. So I'm just going to look for my units that have grams and milligrams. And they're right here in purple in the very top right. I'll try to move one around. Okay, here's gram and milligram. Okay, so I know that this is my unit. I'm going to drag these parts down here to the bottom. So if I have milligrams on the top, I'm going to drag milligrams to the bottom, and that means the grams on top. Okay, I'm not going to take that one and then something else. See, it's incorrect. Once I choose one color or one equals units, I'm keeping those. Okay, so I'm just going to take the other side to the top, and then you'll solve this in your calculator. Okay, so number 4, number 5, all of these are the same. Number 6. Okay, so you're just going to do 1 through 10. Like I said, write them out. Write your correct answer. And if you're really struggling with finding the correct answer, send me a message on paper send me a message on Schoology, and I can help you try to figure out what you're doing wrong. That's it. And once you do this, you're just going to submit your picture of your work onto Schoology. There'll be on the assignment, it will say submit your photo. Okay? Let me know if you